In this video, we are going to be looking at knowledgeware, using formulas, making parameters, and making a design table to make your part grow or get smaller and keep everything where it needs to be. This was the part that I chose to do, just an old-fashioned Game Boy. 2 buttons, keypad, and a screen, and a box. First, like anything, you have to make your sketches. Have them fully defined, ISO-constrained, and then that we can see that the profile is closed. After you get your sketches, you then make your pads. Your pad, pocket, multi-pad, drafted, filleted pad. We just went ahead and made a pad for it. Brought it up. I just had it at 0.5. We then moved to the screen and did the same thing, made a pad. For my number pad and for my button. For the buttons, I also went to transform and used a rectangular pattern. The reference element was just this bottom curve. I only have 2 instances, so 2 buttons. After we got all of that done, we then would have to go and make parameters for it. To make a parameter, you'll then go to Tools, and right here, FX, the formula. You would select on, you can make this different things. We just used length. You have string, real, angle, volume. We just used length with a single value, and we have the new parameter. You can see all of my parameters that I've made. Once the parameters are in, they won't do much. You can try to change the value, nothing will happen. The reason of that is you need to link it and have a formula. So it knows to grow for your length, your height, your edge distance, so on and so forth. So we started with the length. We went back to the FX, the formula. We'll just go back to all, move this over. And to find the length, we went to our sketch here. We found the length right here. You can see that it shows on the table. And to add that formula, we just add formula, double click length, and now it is equal to that length. Same thing for the height. I had that backwards. That would be the length, that would be the height. Same thing though. You'd want to find on the chart, add a formula, double click what you want, hit OK, and then it links to your parameter. So then you can go and change the different values and it will change. Mine is locked. As you can see, it's already in the design table that we will get to. So then you can see the length. It can go out wider, it can go height. But we also needed the screen to move as well. So we needed an edge distance for the screen, for the keypads, for the buttons. So for the edge distance, I just had it linked for 1 inch. And again, FX, edge distance, I used that 1. I had that equal to the edge distance. So that will give you always to the edge. But if you change it, it's just going to go from this edge. So it can go off the part. It's just going to keep going so you have to lock it in place. Using the width, the length of the screen, I then put it in had a formula here, and you can see that it's a little different. I'm actually going to add that. I'm going to go into my sketch. I'm going to click on this, and you can double click or single click and make a formula right from the sketch off the fly. To keep it into the center of the screen, I had to use this formula, which is length minus 2 times the edge distance divided by 2 minus 1. In doing that, it will stay in the center of the screen no matter if I change the edge distance or not. We also had to do the height. To do the height, same thing, we can go to Tools, FX, or I can just click it, go to the formula, and right there, it is linked to the screen height. I can change that, and this will get bigger this way, but because of the edge distance and all my other formulas, it will stay in this position and just grow. For the buttons and the pads, I kind of did the same thing. I had to use the edge distance. That way they stayed where they are, no matter what we changed on this Game Boy. And so same thing, we had to go do this formula again. I had to change it up a little bit because of where I wanted it placed. So I did 1 inch minus 2 times the edge distance divided by 2 minus 1, which then got me my formula after I hit OK and made sure that it was placed and will stay placed in this specific spot. You have your formulas all here. You can just double click if you need to get back and change something like you can do on CATIA. After the relationships, parameters, you think everything's good, you've tested it, everything stays put, everything grows to what you want it to grow, then it would be time to make a design table. Make a design table. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can go to Tools, and from your formula, there's a design table. You can create the table from a pre-existing file, which is what I did. You use an Excel sheet, and you type it all in, you save it, and then you can bring it into as a file. Or you could just create one off the fly using CATIA and Excel. You hit OK, you go through your Excel sheet, which would look something like that. You have your height, your screen height, your length. Those are the 3 that I had to put in for these parameters. So we kind of just started at 6 by 2 by 6. So just, that's the kind of the size that I wanted to start with. And so I just went 2 inches higher than everything, made it 8, 4, 8. And then I went 10, 6, 10, 12, 8, 12, 14, 10, 14. And you can kind of see that it's red now. Nothing's changed. But if I have that highlighted, hit apply, now you see that it got bigger. The box grew, the screen grew but stayed in its position, the keypad stayed in its position, the button stayed in its position. Let's see what happens if we make it a little bigger. Now you can see that it grew again. But the same thing. Everything is in its spot. Everything moves with it. Make it even bigger. And why not as big as we want? So I just did the 5 different values to show that it can get huge, or it can just go back to how I made it. Using the formulas and with your parameters helps for people that don't know how to use CATIA. They just want to print off this Game Boy in different sizes. They open it up, open up the chart, and it's as big as they want it, or as small as they want it. Using these formulas are a great tool for any project. Make sure that everything's linked, everything's in its position. That way, if the buyer wants it smaller or bigger, it's just as easy as making a design table and making it to the specs that they want, and everything will stay the same. In my next video, I'm going to then take this Game Boy and we're going to do a static study. Show what happens when you put pressure up against these buttons and the keypad.